Hello and welcome to this new lesson. Now let's start by coding the first method. First we need to read the incoming data. So write humidity, float humidity equals DHT, which is the object that we already defined, read humidity. And the next one is for float for the temperature. Write DHT dot read temperature. Now we have the humidity and temperature. To send them, we can easily use the virtual write function. The Arduino Blynk library has a method called virtual write, which is used to write the sensor reading into virtual bins we have or we will define and configure in our Blynk app. So to do this, simply write Blynk dot virtual write. Now first define the virtual pin, let's call it V5, and we will send humidity. And we will do the same for the temperature. Let's call it V4 and let's send the temperature. That's it. Now this is the first function. Now to the second function, what we will do in the second function is basically the same thing. We will read the water level, and we already defined two variables here and here. So the water level will equal analog read function, and this will equal analog read. Now we need to bring the two variables here, water level sensor pin number and the soil sensor pin number. Now we have two analog readings, and to map them we can easily use this function. You can write water level equal map, and inside the map you can add water level and add the range 0 2000 0 25. Now the same thing can be done for the moisture level. It will equal map, and we will do the very same thing. We will write moisture level and we will add 0 4000 0 25, or let's make it 20, and let's make this one 20. Now these values are depending on my sensor readings and the range that I want to get. Now depending on your type of sensor, your datasheet, you need to make sure that you are choosing the right values. Now to know the Arduino map function, let's take a quick look at its description. Now the map is basically a way to remaps a number from one range to another. That is, a value from low would get mapped to low. Now it does not constrain values to within the range, because out of range values are sometimes intended and useful. The constraints function may be used either before or after this function if limits to the ranges are desired. Depending on your end goal, you can either use the constraints function or don't use it. Now I can see here the map will take a value, and from high to low and to high. So it will turn the value from low to low, as you can see, this to this, and from high to high, as you can see, from this to this. Now the value is the number to map. From low, the lower bound of the value's current range. From high, the upper bound of the value's current range. To low, the lower bound of the value's target range, the one that we want. To high, the upper bound of the value's target range. Now, as you can see, this is an example code. We are mapping an analog value to 8 bits, 0 to 255. As you can see here, we are reading the value, and here we are getting the readings from 0 to 1023, and we want them to be mapped to 0 to 255. So 1023 will provide an output of 255 and will be stored in the value here. So it's basically a way to change from this range to this range, as you can see. And we are using the very same methodology here. We are moving the values from this range from 0 to 2000 to this range from 0 to 20. And here we are moving the values from 0 to 4000 to this range from 0 to 20. And it's a very easy, straightforward, and easy to implement way to change the range from a very large range to a very small one. And they will both provide the very same final result. Now, this is regarding the mapping. And since we now have the water level and moisture level, we can easily send the values using the Blynk.virtual_write function. Here we have V7, water level, and here we have let's say V6 to send the moisture level. Now let's verify the code to make sure that we don't have any spelling or missing any semicolon before moving forward. Okay, now as you can see here we have an error. We have semicolon here. Okay, here we have another semicolon because I'm coding in C, Python, and Java. Sometimes such mistakes happens because as you know, Python doesn't have a semicolon at the end of each sentence. Okay. Now done compiling, everything is right. Now we can add an extra step here in this area. And this extra step will make sure that we are getting readings from the DH sensor. But if you have connected correctly, you won't need this step. You can add an if statement. If you are getting readings from the humidity and temperature, then move on. If not, then print a serial line, failed to read data from the sensor. And you can do the same here. But I don't think that we need them. Now we need to make sure that we memorize these numbers. We will get back to them in the Blynk app explanation lesson. Now we are done with this function, and we are done with this function. The next step is configuring the setup and the loop functions, and this will be an easy thing to do. Then we will take an overall look at this code, but let's memorize, or let's make a quick overview of what we have done here. We have used DHT object to read the humidity and temperature sensor values, and we have sent them to the Blynk app using V5 and V4, which are virtual pins. Sorry. Now we have used analog read to read the water level and moisture level sensors value, and we have used the map function to map the range from 0 to 2000 to a lower range, which is 0 to 20. And in the moisture level sensor, we have used the map function to map these values from 0 to 4000 to 0 to 20. And then we have sent the values using the virtual write function in the Blynk library. And we used V6 and V7 as virtual pins for the Blynk app. In the next lesson, we will set up, we will write the code inside the setup and the loop functions to finish this coding process. Thanks for watching. If you have any question, please ask in the Q&A board.